Alrighty. You're going to want to scoot in a little bit. There we go.
Dang, I thought I did. Oh well.
Oh well.
It's fine.
All right. We are back. Been on hiatus for a week, but for a good reason. Father's Day. So hopefully everybody had a good Father's Day. And yeah. So this week is going to be a little bit of a continuation of what we went over. I keep on trying to say last week, but it wasn't last week, even though it feels like it.
It does.
But going over what we did last lesson about kind of just timing expectations. If something is, even if it's something that is good, if it's supposed to be happening at that right time, or if it's the right timing for the situation and things such as that. And we kind of talked about this a little bit last weekend in the trusting in God aspect. Now, we've done this lesson before actually we did it right at the start of this past year, actually. So actually it wasn't too long ago
Yeah.
that we did a trusting in God segment. But this
That's
is
true.
But this is going to be expanding a little bit on things we brought up in the past, but it's going to more parallel what we went over last week. Now, one of the inspirations for this lesson here was actually a verse that your dad had brought up in church. That's
Ruh-roh.
I don't know what that was. It was a verse that your dad brought up in church the last Sunday. Comes out of Proverbs 3:5-8. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. But yeah, so this is kind of going along. We kind of, like I said, we touched on this on the aspect of like, even though something feels right in the time, that we need to be trusting God, doing things within his timing. So if something's about to happen in your life, praying on that, making sure that this is the right time for that move, and so on. But then also kind of goes over of, like maybe like one, like how we talked about like the false goods kind of appear to you. I mean, we've talked before maybe how to avoid those or how to battle against those, which in truth we can't. Only Christ can through the strength that he gives us. But I lost my train of thought for a second.
It happens.
It happens. You have anything? I'm sorry, I've been drowning out this intro.
I mean, yeah, I think this is a great passage, and I think, as we get into it, it'll probably become more clear, but I think this verse kind of answers the question, the big question, how do I know God's will? It kind of walks you through how you know God's will and how you figure it out for your own life and how you walk in it properly to steward it the right way. So, yes, it's very wisdom-giving, I would say.
Yeah.
A great verse. Or
Right.
verses.
Yeah. Maybe that's a lesson we'll have to revise, because we did that. That's also another lesson we did a while back.
That was a long time ago, I
Was
think.
that a long one? Was that a long while ago, or was that one of the more recent ones? I can't quite.
I have to pull out my handy-dandy Excel sheet.
Ah, the Excel sheet. Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
used docs.
Or numbers.
Oh, numbers.
They look the same. Not to...
What
Okay.
numbers? What's numbers?
Did I?
Is like the Google thing? You mean sheets?
Yeah, that is what I mean.
'Cause
I
I've
do
never
mean
heard.
sheets.
I was about to say I've never heard of numbers before.
Numbers and sheets,
I mean, they're
thought were
both.
the same
I mean,
thing.
they're both green. So I guess they're confusing that part.
That's whack. I really thought they were the same thing.
I know we've had multiple lessons on kind of God's will, or at least I think we've at least had two
Yeah.
where they kind of, it's different aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think. But no, that might have to be. Maybe this is kind of like a little bit of a makeshift series without a name. But maybe we'll have to touch more into that this week, or
Yeah.
touch more into that next week. But I think we can actually go over that a good bit today, kind of a little bit of a refresher
Sure.
on God's will for your life. So I mean, one of the more important things on finding God's will or understanding it, I mean, look through the examples that he has given us. I mean, if you are truly unsure, go back, mainly read through the Gospels, but read through the Gospel, read through all the Bible. You see his will placed out in front of you everywhere, especially in the gospel and what he wants us to do, how we're supposed to live our life. I mean, this is a blueprint on how to live our life. Now, of course, we're not perfect at it, but, I mean, that's why we needed and have a Savior.
Yep.
Let me see if I can.
That is true. That reminded me of something.
Maybe we didn't have that.
We probably touched on it in a different kind of lesson, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we did. I actually could have sworn we actually had one about God's will. We have what you want versus what God wants, but that was more of a recent one, I would say.
Yeah, that was not long ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So did you have any other verses? Didn't you say you had some other ones that you wanted to cover, or?
I mean, I just like split it up. I split the whole section up and.
Let's go into that then.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole point was, let's dive into this verse more. Let's get
Well, what you just said
insight.
kind of reminded me of, so I've been reading through Acts, and I got to chapter 7, which is Stephen's speech to the council, and, you know, he's pretty much going through the whole story of Moses and all of that, and...
This is, yeah. So,
Huh?
yeah, when I was just thinking to myself, like, right before he's executed and all that.
Yes, right before that. And so this is verse 3 in chapter 7, says, and said to him, leave your country and your relatives and go to the land that I will show you. And I think that kind of is a testament to the first part of this verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart. You know, for Moses to go based on the words, go to the land that I will show you, being willing to make the journey despite not knowing where it might end him up.
Yeah.
It's a pretty amazing thing.
This partially goes off what we touched on it a little bit last week of, I mean, we've touched on it many, many times. Can't think of how many times we brought this up, but having faith in them. I mean, God, I don't know. Moses had faith in God on something for a land that he's never seen. God didn't give him a map. He said that he would lead them. He didn't know where they're going, what terrain they'd be going through, who they're going up against along the way. But he had that much faith in God. He's like, you know what? As of this point, I know not to cross you. I mean, I saw what you did to the Egyptians back there. I don't want any piece of that.
Correct.
So, you know what? I'm going to trust you, and
Yeah. Yep. That's definitely a prime example of trusting the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah.
I would say. And I think another part of that is, as humans, like, we are wired to put our trust into something, you know, whether it be ourselves or other people or things or jobs or what have you.
Yeah.
So, you know, what better thing to put all your trust in than God?
Yeah. Well, we put it. Well, actually, that reminds me of that one. This is an early lesson. The first faith lesson that we did.
Oh yeah.
That was a long time ago. But an example that we brought up in that is about like how. So you get in your car, start your car up, sit down to go to work every morning. When you get in your car in the morning, you do not turn that key thinking, oh, please. I mean, some people do, because some people or have the unfortunate luck of not having a car that's really working. But for those who do have a car that's working, you have faith that everything in that car is going to run the moment you turn it on, that it's going to get you where you need to go. Your seat's not going to fall out the bottom of your car. You're not going to hit the pavement. Your tires aren't going to fall off. Your motor's not going to blow up. You have faith in all that. I mean, no one ever plans to have an engine malfunction. Usually when it comes in as a surprise, but they have faith that, you know what, this is going to work. This is going to get me from A to B.
That's right.
And we had that one example with the chair and thing like that I've
that's
given
true.
before. There's I'll explain it now because we have time. But I think I actually took your dad's office chair.
Yeah.
And it was with
Nathaniel.
It was Martin.
Martin.
It was Martin, yeah. No, so I had him. This is an example that I'd seen someone else, but I liked it so much that I kind of stole it. But it was for good use. Well, I don't call it plagiarism.
No.
But so I got your dad's chair out of his office. Had someone come up, had him sit in the chair. I say, okay, have you ever sat in this chair before? No, never sat in the chair before. So I asked the question, how did you know that chair was going to hold you? I could have pulled a screw or kind of loosened a few screws or did something loose in the back, or I could have made one leg shorter than the other so it could fall down as soon as you sat in. Mm-hmm. So how did you know that chair was not going to fall? You had faith in whoever constructed that chair, that they built it so that you can sit in it. You're not going to fall. You're going to be... Actually, that chair actually was pretty comfortable. It didn't look like it, but actually it's pretty comfortable.
Not bad.
Really
Not bad.
Really good back support.
True.
It's like that wood one.
It's
It goes
got a
straight
good
up.
angle to it.
It does. But I'm
That's
getting
true.
off. But I'm getting off
True.
topic. I'm thinking about old. I'm thinking about how much my back is all screwed up.
I saw you at the chiropractor the other day. I saw your car
Oh yeah.
going through town.
Yeah.
But kind of almost in that same
Yeah.
vein, I found this when I was, getting ready for this lesson. So in this verse, the word that is translated as trust comes from a word that means to lie helpless face down. And I read that and I was like, that's a very vulnerable position to be in. And when you're vulnerable, you want to put your trust in something that's reliable.
Yeah. But then also the trust that that's kind of another way of showing your faithfulness and trust to God. I mean, if you're going up against an adversary, you're in where you're around somewhere where you could possibly get mugged or something like that. That's one of the least, that is probably the only thing that'd be more dangerous, be laying flat on your back and leaving your face and body exposed.
Unaware of your surroundings.
Yeah, but laying face down, you can't see. Someone could walk over you. Someone could literally just go into your back pocket, take your wallet. Yeah,
That's right.
But being vulnerable to God, though.
Yeah.
I guess in a way. I mean, it kind of makes sense a little bit. That's just kind of what went to my mind when you brought that up. What?
Nothing I say makes sense to you. It's okay. I mean...
Well, no. That's just like the way I was looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
I see.
It's just an example that popped in my head. About,
okay.
It was a little bit off topic on being vulnerable to God. That's more of like a prayer topic. But that's just something that popped in my head.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a vulnerable position, in a way.
Yeah. It kind of just...
interesting.
Yeah, no, because not really... I don't know. I was going off topic. I let the intrusive thoughts win.
That's okay. It happens from time to time.
Yeah, it happens. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. Where were you going with that?
Want to move on to with all your heart, like that part?
Sure. Let's do that.
So, with all your heart, basically meaning you can't half love or half trust God. To put only half your trust in God is to put the other half into something else, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
You can't have one foot in, one foot out, basically. And I know there's a great verse about that.
But then going down a few more, in the same verse talks about how, and lead not in your own understanding.
Yep.
And in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight.
Yeah.
So more or less no confliction in your heart. No second guessing, which we're humans. We do that a lot. We are very unsure. We don't make the best decisions sometimes.
Yeah. This is true.
This is very true.
Time to time. That's true.
Thank God we have a Savior.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the other thing this kind of made me think about is the importance of having childlike faith. Because, I don't know, I was around some children yesterday, and I was just thinking, they believe stuff with their whole heart.
Yeah.
Everything that they believe it fully. They just are not capable of that kind of skepticism that I think the rest of us unfortunate grown-ups are.
I mean, think about when you were a kid, you full-heartedly believed in Santa Claus, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I full-heartedly believed in the Tooth Fairy because I thought I had evidence because I got left a note because it was storming one night and she didn't come. So she brought me a lightsaber instead of
She must not be able to fly in the rain.
That's what in reality, my parents said that they completely forgot. But it just so happened, it actually did rain and storm that night. So then the next morning, I woke up to a toy lightsaber on my dresser.
Oh my
and it just had a note on it. It's oh, sorry, I couldn't make it last night. I couldn't make it in the rain. This is how I'm making up to you.
That's so clever.
Instead of a dollar bill or something like that on my pillow, it was that.
That's clever.
I kept that post-it note for the longest time, too. I'm I have proof. She wrote this note.
It's her.
It was really her.
That's funny.
But going back to that, it's the faith, we full-heartedly believed in that. We didn't second guess. We didn't.
Correct. We knew for a fact he was coming down that chimney. Exactly. December 24th.
Your house may not have had a chimney, but you knew that he was breaking in.
Yeah. That's exactly right. One way or another.
But it's having that faith of you didn't second guess. You full-heartedly believed, and you knew what was going to happen. But as we get older, we kind of start to lose that because we get pressure from the outside world. We get all these certain...
We rely on our own insight.
We rely on our own insight and not on God's. Relying on God's gives us the I'll say clarity. We talk about this word, but giving you and having faith gives you the clarity to kind of see through the fog. Now, it's not always going to be like that. We have our ups and we have our downs. We have moments where you feel like that you're skipping on clouds and nothing could go wrong, and you're like, oh, everything's right in the world. God's with me. I'm ready to take on whatever. I'm ready to take on the rest of my life. And then you have other moments here in life you're like, I don't know what to do. And then you feel yourself slipping and you feel regret and all these other things that may keep you down. But having that faith, even though through the good and the bad, having that faith all the way through is the most important thing. Things are not going to look good. Nobody said that this life is going to be easy.
Right.
I mean, if having faith like this was easy, everyone would be doing it. You wouldn't have atheists who are conflicted about how, well, if he's a good God, why would he let this happen, or why this, or it just doesn't make sense, but just openly accepting it.
Well, and you think about all the things that, even in people that we know, like the things that God was able to do through horrible situations. Like the redemptive nature of things. Like sometimes you have to go through the terrible things to be able to see
the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we talked about that clearly a few weeks ago when we talked about Phil Robertson.
Yeah, exactly. Prime example. Yep. That's right.
Yeah. So what do we got next? I know I kind of skipped a few verses ahead. So I don't know if you covered what we had in that too or no. You have some more in there.
I had just do not rely on your own insight. That's all I had.
We're kind of going over that. But
yeah, I mean,
it kind of goes along the level, kind of back to the beginning of kind of letting your will be God's will. If you're not fully, and it is hard. We all struggle with it. We all kind of, like we said, like last week, maybe we think that we're doing the right thing, but in reality, the outcome is not what God intended.
Correct. Yeah.
And maybe it diverts us from something else, but
yeah.
I was going with that for a second. Where was that? Oh, insight. Yeah. So then, but the enemy will plant. We've talked about this before many times, especially when we did that deep one on temptation a while back. But how the enemy, he will put thoughts of doubt in your head. He will try to presage you to take another path. I mean, it's not going to be like the thing that he tells you to do or kind of puts that thought into your head that like it doesn't, like when he gives it to you, it seems innocent. It doesn't seem bad. Almost like sometimes he's going to try and fool you to think like, oh yeah, no, this is a good thing, God, like this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
When in reality, as soon as you kind of get down there, you may be going, like you said, you may be going into with good intentions, but the outcome that you couldn't fully see, and maybe you had doubt in your mind, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is to, as far as dealing with that, is with prayer.
Yes.
I mean, we've gone over it again before, and I think maybe if we go into God's will next week, maybe we'll go a little further into it, but I've talked about before about hearing God's voice. God is not a silent God. Sometimes he whispers, sometimes he yells, but I mean, God, we read about it in Acts, the gift of the whole reason why Jesus did what he did. Part of it was, yes, to sacrifice so that we may be forgiven. But he knew that if he stuck around, he didn't stay on that cross, we would not receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. And like how I said before, that's our, I don't know, we have a lot of young viewers. They might not know what a landline are.
Oh my gosh.
There's people our age who don't know what a landline is.
They never had the privilege of having a landline.
No, of having a house phone, no.
That's
but
sad.
The Holy Spirit is our service provider on our phone to God. He gives us the ability to talk and to communicate with God. Now, I just said God's, I mean God. Ugh. That's not right at all. Not with God's, although people do that in some other creepy ways. Don't do that.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
God doesn't require you to do anything special. It's just believing in him and giving your heart to him. Oh, now he's just texting me. Yo, bro, I'm not able to make it. That was Nathaniel.
You think?
No.
It's 7 o'clock. Shaking my head.
Jeez.
It's okay.
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Nathaniel, if you watch this later.
It's okay. We had chicken anyways.
That's true. Yeah, we had the devil's bird, as you would say.
Yard bird.
Yard bird, devil's bird. I don't know. Chicken's good, though.
I love
if
chicken.
it's done right. Now, bad chicken is bad chicken, and you can't, like, dry done chicken.
Can't have that. Can't have
I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. But
Yeah, it's okay.
no, but God is not a silent God. I mean, He still communicates with us. I mean, I think I've talked about kind of really my coming to Christ moment where I heard God talk to me. He spoke to me when I was lost and I didn't know what to do. And part of the reason why that expired there was at some point where I was kind of like down at my limit. I was like mainly more concerned about my job, but God was more talking about what I need to be doing throughout my life, no matter what I'm doing. And no matter what I'm doing, job, I've had the opportunity to do this and now through this. But I said, God, what do you want me to do? Like I'm at the I don't know what you want me to do. Like, should I keep on doing with this job and whatnot? And then he gave the answer that I didn't expect. He said, go call my people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I thought I was hearing things. I'm like, you did not just say that. That's not my job. That's a preacher's job. And he said, call my people.
Yep.
And then doing so, and yes, it has been hard. Having faith like that, to have faith, like, you know what I'm doing here is the right thing to do, and it's had an impact, and it truly has. Because of that calling and what he told me that day, it's led us to creating this.
Mm-hmm.
It's leading to, I mean, one of our comers, Rock, to him last summer getting baptized and getting saved, which is a beautiful thing.
Yep.
And
That's
it's
true.
because of that, God really, like, you have to, hearing God's voice, I've talked about before. If you look through our Instagram, you can find a lesson that we had done on that before. But it's just, you need to quiet your mind. And sometimes he does speak kind of in the blur of everything else going on. You'll hear him. You'll know when you hear him.
It's not something that you would ever think of yourself.
Exactly. Like, now the enemy, he'll try and put thoughts of doubt in your head. You'll be like, I've thought of that before, but like, that's not me. But like, if you know something's God's, you're like, I would never think that. Like, never once in a million years. I mean, if you asked me, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, like, you're going to be doing this, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like back then I would have had some faith. I believe God was real, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not nowhere near qualified to doing that. I don't have the desire to do that. But
Yeah.
I mean, look how quickly things shape up around.
This is a good point.
But yeah, no, but it's. What verse were we on again? I kind of got.
We were
lost in my own
on
thoughts.
do not rely on your own
Do
insight.
not
But that
rely on your
honestly
insight.
bleeds perfectly into in all your ways acknowledge him.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we talked about that before with last week, like understanding like the journey that God has brought you on. I mean, He's brought you this far. He's not going to fail you yet, even though. I don't know. Kind of going off last week of like how some things may be hard to understand, and you think that maybe you should be going this direction, but God's like, no. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, no, that's gonna happen later. Don't worry, that's gonna happen later. But sometimes, like, no, you're not ready for that one yet.
yeah, that's true. And I mean, acknowledging him in all your ways, like that can be something as simple as, oh wow, God, like thank you that I ran into this person at the grocery store.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
Thank you that, I felt pretty wearing this outfit today. Like, thank you for the smallest things that to most people probably don't matter. But
No.
I mean, everything is so intentional with God.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm not gonna go into detail about it, but I'll mention it vaguely. There was that one evening when we came over here. I'll keep them anonymous, but that one night, one of our congregation was over here,
oh
and
gosh.
she happened to be going through
Yeah.
a tough time, and
Yeah.
she just poured out to me, and I was able to help her, give her encouragement. She just needed someone to talk to, someone to pray with, someone to
Right.
know that like you could tell that she'd been keeping it in.
Right.
Now, like, she understood it, and she was so much better at the end of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
There's no coincidence.
There's no coincidence, and I was praising. Like, I wasn't having the best day that day. I was
No.
not. I was in a bit of a mood. I was like, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was during the week. I think it was like a Thursday or something like that. I was about ready for the week to be over.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a bad day for a lot of people, but that situation kind of helped.
But it's like, because I think we almost actually didn't come that night.
Yeah.
We almost did not come that night. Like, no, we have to do this. And we did make some good progress that night, but more importantly, I was there for that, to be there for someone who needed help.
That's true.
And that's God kind of like saying like, hey, like,
Yeah.
I know you, I don't know. he looks out for you, and like he does a good job.
That's right.
He does
That's
a
right.
very good job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else besides that?
Nothing for that one.
Okay.
Shall we move on to "and he will make straight your paths"?
Let's do that.
Let's
I
do
think
that
we
one.
kind of touch. Actually, that's actually a good segue because I kind of, at the
Yeah.
very end of that, kind of
That's true.
wiggled
That's
our
true.
way into there.
Very true. Yeah. And I mean, like we talked about the last couple weeks, this is not, he will not make straight the path that you have picked out in your brain, rather the one that he has picked out for you, that you were made to walk.
Yeah. Now he'll give you desires in your heart to do
Yeah.
certain things. You may not understand why you have the desires to do this, whether this be helping people or doing a certain thing, or it could be a career path or something like that. But
Sorry.
you may have a completely different outcome on how you think it's going to go or how you think it's going to be. But then God, he has other plans.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure, like, okay, you're here to learn this. You're here to reach out to so-and-so, or you're here just to whatever it may be on your path that God has set before you.
Yeah. And I think, I hadn't really thought about this before, but I'm very thankful that you have to trust him fully before he will start to align your life like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know as humans, like, there's no way we'd listen if we didn't trust him all the way and he told us to make a drastic life change or to do something crazy. Like, we would straight up not listen, and then we would miss the path.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking about it in another sense of having faith. I'm also, the idea of a GPS got in my mind. If you're going on like a road trip, say you're going to a new place or something like that. Like you're going on a road trip, it's like, oh, I'm excited. I haven't been to this place before and whatnot. And that GPS is giving you directions. And you're just there like, no, I don't think that's the way. But you've never been to this place before. Like you don't know how to get here. Like you asked me for help. Like I'm here. I'm here to guide you. So you can get to that place that I know that you need to be at. That place I know that you want to be. He's like, no, but I want to go this way.
We all know people
This
like
way
that.
looks
Like
like
they
fun.
ask for help, and then they're like, I just don't think what you're saying is
And
right.
sometimes we do. Along our path, sometimes we do that.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, but like, you sure that like we get nervous. It's kind of the sense of Jonah, almost in a way,
That's true.
about how God told Jonah to go to Nineveh. He's like, no, I don't think so. I mean, things are doing pretty good over here, like I'm spreading your word and all of that. And he's like, no, you're going. He's like, I don't know about that. I'm getting on this merchant vessel. I'm on the ocean. You can't get me there. God brings a storm. He's like, oh no, crap. This is probably because I'm here. And then all the sailors are like, well, whose God is it to blame? And they're like, it must be you. Like you have to be the one. And then he says, as soon as he jumped off the boat, got swallowed up by that big old fish, the storm stopped.
That's right.
And then Jonah's kind of lost. Like think about it. If you're in the stomach of a big fish or a whale, whatever it may have been, you don't know where you're going. You're sitting in a
Heck no.
gut.
It's like
You're
being in a submarine, like with no windows. You don't know where you are.
Yeah. I was going to say being put in the trunk of a car, but that works.
That's even better.
Yeah, that's a little bit more drastic, but.
None of them sound fun.
No.
I don't want to find myself in any of those situations.
And sometimes these journeys aren't fun all the way. Sometimes you do have to take those hard. Sometimes you have to take those hard words, but the end is going to be worth it. And God had a plan for Jonah. He's like, I told you you're getting there. One way or another, I'm going to get you there.
Yeah. Well, that's like this verse.
And think like, or I just had, I have one more thought, but actually I had two more thoughts. But it was like imagine if Jonah decided like, you know what, no, like I'm not jumping in there. Like there's no way it's my fault. I'm gonna keep my head down. I am staying low. I'm staying safe. If I go down with the ship, I go down with the ship, and that very well could have happened.
True.
And Jonah completely denies God's will. But then it was actually, it's in my mind, and I remember I wrote it down in my notebook because I thought it was such a good quote. But there's a quote from Jesus Revolution. I think it's when Greg Laurie is talking to Jonathan Rumi. They're talking about a sermon he's about to give. But I can't remember, I think it was Jonathan Rumi's character who played Lonnie Frisbee. But he had a line about how when the ocean and the storm is going on, basically like referring to like, your life's not going right. It seems like a total mess. Jump into the sea. Jump into God. Kind of like don't think second about it. Like just go to God. I thought that was a good analogy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That is interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry. I interrupted. But yeah, onto the, where would you head next?
Oh, this verse out of Proverbs 3, which says, "My child, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof, for the Lord reproves the one he loves as a father the son in whom he delights." So basically, not being afraid to be redirected because you trust him and you trust the path that he has for your life. If he chooses to redirect your life or to change something about it, he's doing it because he loves you and he wants to set you straight.
Set you straight, wants to better you, or like you said, like God has a plan. Whether it's big or small, you may have an impact on maybe one single person's life.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for you and the path that God put you on, that person would not be in His kingdom in the end.
There was a story I heard like 3 years ago, and I wish I could remember all the details, but it was like this guy, some sort of, he wasn't like a plumber, but electrician or something like that. He was working in this office building, and this guy came in, didn't even see this man over here working in the corner, and was saying like, "Oh, you should come to my church," like this, that, and the other. And the person who he was talking to was like, "No, church isn't for me," all that. And anyways, like years and years and years went by, and the man who was working, like the electrician guy, whatever he was, went to that church because he remembered what the man had said about like, "Oh, we have a great church," this, that, and the other. And then him and his whole family got saved. Like sometimes you never know.
Wow.
You never know the effect that you're.
And that man didn't even know that. I mean, he was trying to speak to someone else, get someone else to go, but wow.
Exactly. I'll have to see if I can find that
I feel like
story.
I remember hearing that before somewhere. I vaguely remember that.
It was going around a couple years ago, but I'll see if I can
That
find
sounds
it.
about right.
It was like an Easter service that he went to or something like that. But
yeah.
It was really interesting.
I do remember that, though.
Yeah, it was a good story, but I mean, it just goes to show, like,
you
never know. Never know.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do we got anything else, or is that?
Do not be wise in your own eyes.
Not be wise.
You're never more wise than the Lord.
No, that kind of goes into what we were talking before, like not leaning on your own understanding, kind of the aspect of thinking, oh, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing what I want to do, or like, you know what, God, I think kind of the same case with Jonah and like a few other people. He's like, you know what, God, I think you're wrong on this one.
Yeah.
He's like, like what you're telling me is it's like it's either gonna get me killed or like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, I had this great idea, and I'm sure you probably heard it.
Yep.
I think it's gonna turn out a whole lot better. And God's like, I don't know.
Not so sure. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
That's really all I had for that one.
No, yeah.
If we were wiser than God, we wouldn't need him.
No, exactly. We're pretty stupid sometimes.
Yeah, we don't make the smartest decisions as humans.
No.
We've got fear the Lord and turn away from evil. This is just another, you can't have one foot in each.
Yeah. And fearing the Lord is not like, it's like in the same sense of fearing your father, like when you're younger. Like you don't want like he loves you. And in that sense, you don't want to anger him.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like it's like even if he is a little angry with you, he still loves you.
Correct.
I mean, it talks about in Proverbs about like how it is good to give discipline. Like that is a sign of a good parent. I mean, I think we've talked about it before over the years. I mean, I'm sure my mom had the metal spatula or the wooden spoon. That sure set me out, right?
Yeah.
And we laugh about it.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. We see those bratty kids in a Walmart or something like that who are crying and whining because they're not getting their way. You just think to yourself, that kid needs a good old smack on the behind.
Exactly. You wish it upon someone else.
Yeah. But then also the fact of fearing God is knowing that, like, fearing what it's going to be like without him. Because, I mean, that at the end, that's what hell is. Hell is total departure from God.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Satan,
a good point.
Satan and God both have an influence over this world. Now, we know in the end that Jesus has already conquered the world.
Yeah.
We've already won that battle. The enemy doesn't know that, but as of right now, Satan is the prince of the world.
Yeah.
As of right now, it says that later on in the New Testament. But it's kind of like fearing, well, like, you know what, like if I don't obey God, like the consequences that could follow. So it's not like in fearing God of like,
Oh, scared.
yeah, not like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Or something like that, but like in that of
Exactly.
like someone you,
Like
someone
reverence.
like someone that you love, someone that you know that loves you, or like a role model or a parent. Like I don't want to get on your bad side. I really
yeah.
look up to you, and you really help me out. I don't want to piss you off.
Like a grandparent. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to upset your grandma.
No.
That's just you can't do that. Like that's so sad.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the last of that one, or?
All I really had for that one was, as we
Or-
read in Matthew, you can't serve two masters. So you can't serve God and you can't serve evil at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Ah.
We've reached our capacity.
We need to get a new SD card.
I know. That's annoying. Oh, well.
I guess we get close to signing off, I suppose. Much as I don't really want to. Because we're kind of going on a roll. Do we just let it? Do we let it go?
We got two more section, like.
Let's go through it. You know what?
Okay.
We'll ignore
It'll be
that.
fine. It'll be fine.
We'll get a new one next week.
They'll
Don't you
survive.
worry. We'll get that fixed soon.
True.
All right.
The next one is, it will be a healing for your flesh.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes with the last one too. Healing to
Yeah.
your flesh and body, and nourishment to your bones.
Yeah. It is interesting that, like, sometimes we don't realize the effect, like, sin is having on our...
No,
on
no,
our
not
bodies.
at all. I go back to the moment where, like, when I really had my come to Jesus moment, and I fully had my reconversion. I'm like your whole body. The Holy Spirit just fills your body up. You're just like, nothing can hurt me, nothing can drag me down. Of course, that's not gonna last forever. Because we talked about it before, and it's kind of like the parable of the sower, like some who accepted the word, get that boost, like, woohoo,
Yeah.
I'm this and that, and then you're like, oh, all this stuff is happening, and now I'm feeling back down. But it is relieving, and it's kind of how they talk about having freedom in Christ.
Exactly.
Some people say, like, well, you have to follow all these rules, and you can't do everything you want. Like, no, but like, I'm free. I'm free from not doing things that are gonna, at the end of the day, that are gonna spiritually kill me.
Correct.
And things that are not gonna lead me down the down path. And you know what? Like, because of Christ because what that Christ done in my life, I'm gonna let that go. Ugh.
Redo that one.
Yeah, no, we're doing that. But you know what I'm saying. You know the thing.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is made clear.
Yeah.
That's
No,
true.
but because of what Christ done in your life, you're like, I don't want to go back to that. Like, he pulled me out of that. Why would I want to go back? I feel free.
Exactly.
I know that, like, I know what my future holds. I could die today, and I know where I'm going. I'm free from all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it is a great feeling. Like, yes, there's going to be pains in this life. And and sad enough, as sad as it is, we were just talking about earlier today how there was a church in Syria that just got torn down by Iranians. Like, you saw Christians that are persecuted. But like every single one of those Christians who are persecuted, they are free from pain. They're free from torment. They're free from all the crappiness of this world.
Yeah.
And they are
Exactly.
free in God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah. So even others may criticize you, like, oh, well, you can't do this. You're limited on this and that. And it's like, you're like, well, you can't do it. Like, I don't care about that.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly
I
it.
got
It doesn't
some-
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. as like going back to Phil Robertson, after he had his conversion and his friends and buddies came by, saying like, hey, let's go get back to that. Let's go get drunk. Let's go do. He's like,
Yeah.
you're looking for a dead man.
Yeah.
This man is gone.
Exactly.
It's like he's buried. That's how.
You find fulfillment in other things that
Absolutely.
are more worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, that was about a good way to end it off, I say.
Yeah.
Unless you got
would
anything
say.
else to comment.
Not really, no.
All
I
right.
really don't. It was a good one.
That
It was
was a
fun.
good one. Alrighty. Well, hopefully we're done with. Let's see. Can I point right on the camera? Hopefully we're done with that thing.
Message.
Yeah, I'm trying to point at the movie stopped recording. So hopefully we're done with that ting. That ting. The ting. You know the ting. You know.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're done with that thing by the end. Hopefully we'll one of us needs to remember to get a new
Yeah.
SD card. So
Or
yeah.
just an enormous one, and that way it won't happen again.
Yeah. I wonder if we can get one of those battery things for it. I don't know. We'll figure that out, but next week it'll be solved. So yeah, we'll see you next week. God bless and yeah.
Yay.
Carry on.
Carry on.